So I just finished reading Death Note, Another Note, the Los Angeles BB murder case. I did it because I would describe myself as a Death Note fanboy, honestly. And well, the concept of the book sounded really cool, and the artwork made for it is really cool as well. And I started looking for reviews on the internet, on Amazon and Goodreads and stuff like that, just to make sure I'm not like the only one who thinks this book is trash. Apparently most reviews come from people who love this book, who think it really lives to the standard of the original Death Note series, which I'm going to admit it's not super good or anything, but it has some level of quality, right? And I think they're full of shit, actually. I don't agree in any way. But to my surprise, I actually did find a couple of reviews that very well exemplify what are my feelings towards this light novel. So I'm going to really summarize what my problem with this book is. It's a very simple one. It's really stupid. It's really nonsensical. The deductions are shit. It seems to me that the author is someone who watched Death Note and really enjoyed it, mainly because of, first, the humor, and second, the fact that the characters say funny words and discover stuff. You know, I'm not going to say that the mental games in Death Note are like super smart, but I think a lot of them are smart. I think, there are some parts that make more sense, some others that are a bit dumber. And yes, you could argue that the series gets stupider, if that's a word, the closer it gets to the end, right? Still, I'm amazed at the level of pretentiousness this light novel gets to. Most of the trains of thought that the characters follow are completely nonsensical. They work at all times on conjectures that are based on absolutely nothing. And it's all an arbitrary interpretation of symbols that get mixed up in layers and layers of meaning, well, supposed meaning. You know, like the book handles all of these thoughts, like number 13, 4, 9, the letters B, Q, majuscule, minuscule, the dolls, the locked rooms, the reflections, mirrors, whatever. Nothing makes sense. And I can assure you, whenever they were making a deduction, whenever they were looking for the next clue, I was cringing as hell. It doesn't surprise me that a lot of passages where Naomi is supposed to be thinking and unraveling the case, she's literally just connecting random words together until Ryuzaki says that, well, it actually makes sense because, and adds some random element that we didn't know or something. I'm going to admit some clues are dumber than others. I mean, I can kind of accept some of them. For example, the one with the clock on the third murder. Okay, so you generally have your clock on the left arm. So the killer took the left arm, and that points us to clocks. And he also took the right leg, so that the corpse had 3 parts that look like nails on a clock. You know, for a lot of people, I'm sure that rambling of words, it's already enough stupid to just discard it as bad writing. But there are worse cases. I mean, I prefer that over the clue from the second murder, where, oh, so the girl was wearing glasses that she didn't normally wear. So that was a clue referring to the fact that the third murder happened near a glass factory. That is the dumbest shit you can come up with when it comes to mystery. It really is. And I understand that when you're writing something like this, you probably have to add some obscure, ambiguous elements to make it more confusing and, you know, give it flavor. And yes, that's a resource that is frequently used in mystery stories, and it can be done kind of correctly if the mystery by itself makes sense. If you have an actual trail of clues that, for logical reasons, get to the full discovery of the crime, but then you add some clutter with clues that get nowhere or stuff like that, I can kind of understand that. That's fine. It's not something I personally really enjoy, but I understand that's what gives mystery stories a flavor. But still, a mystery isn't a mystery because it's unsolvable. I think tasteful mysteries have to be solvable to an extent where the reader can, at all times, if he really wants to, be at least a couple steps ahead of the detectives, which I believe doesn't really happen on this story. I think the whole plotline is basically impossible to uncover while you're reading it because it simply doesn't make any sense. It's very retarded. And I really appreciate some parts of it. I really do. I kind of like the comedy of seeing the L-like Ryuzaki interacting with Naomi. That's cool. I like some of the interpretation that comes from it. Some of the rambling that comes from the narrator's thoughts can be a bit interesting or deep. Like when it compares the truth of criminal investigations to a weight that detectives have to carry over their shoulders, and then connects that to the unhealthy and characteristic habits of L. It's kind of poetic. I enjoy that. But being honest, I'm really just trying to look for something good to say about this. I think the best part of this book is really the concept. The execution is horrible on every level, but I mean, making a story about the so-called Los Angeles BB murder case, it's a great idea as a prequel to Death Note. Seeing the first case carried out by Naomi and L, plus that super cool name, that's a great idea. Not only because it's a prequel, it's about L, and it happens in America, which are three things that by themselves could make up for a enjoyable lecture. I think the element that attracted me the most was seeing L work with non-fictional crimes. Now, I understand that the whole Wami's house thing is it's already very supernatural and fantastic and, dare I say, non-realistic. But I can accept it to some degree. I understand it's something that has to exist for the equally unrealistic character of L to exist, right? So I still thought it would be very interesting to see Death Note characters have to deal with crimes that do not involve any supernatural powers and such. So you can imagine my disappointment when I read that, Beyond Birthday simply has Shinigami eyes. Why? I don't know. He just has them, okay? In conclusion, I haven't read or watched any of the Monogatari series, but given that its author is the same guy who wrote this piece of trash, I don't think I'm going to check that out in the near future, This light novel was truly a complete disappointment, and I'm thankful it's at least, it's a light novel. It's not a, heavy novel. It's only 170 pages, more or less, so it's something you can read in about a day or two, which means I didn't waste that much time reading this.